Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It is exactly 19 after 9 o'clock, and just before we connect up with Ayesha Kajee, analyst, activist, and writer, I just need to make a small little announcement, and that is that Lodium shines at the 2025 Minara Business Recognition Awards. Abdul Aziz Tayyib, architect, takes home the Professional Achiever Award, while Hafsa Bika Karim, whom I spoke to a few minutes ago, is joint winner of the Community Builder of the Year award. And this comes as no surprise. Dr. Imtiaz Suleiman of Gift of the Givers scooped the Lifetime Achiever Award, and well deserved is what I have to say. From all of us here at Salam Media, inshallah, continue the amazing work, all of you, and continue being an inspiration to the people of South Africa, very especially the Muslim community. 20 after 9 o'clock, and let's talk now with Ayesha Kajee, analyst, activist, and writer. And assalamu alaikum to you, Ayesha. Welcome to the program. Nice to be chatting again.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Lovely to be chatting with you as well, Sister Julie. I do apologize for the lack of visuals. We have a fiber problem in the area today.
No worries. I was wondering why I don't get to see your lovely face, but inshallah, next time around. I'm going to raise two important issues with you and then hand over to you. The first one being, I never thought, alhamdulillah, that I would hear this, but we're now hearing, and simply because I thought there'd be lots and lots of interference from the international community, the international justice community, regarding the case that South Africa brought against apartheid Israel. We're now hearing that the ICC rejects Israel's appeal and they've denied it, seeking to cancel the arrest warrants for Netanyahu. And I think it's Yoav, I don't have his surname here, but two of them have been obviously charged at the international court. So your thoughts on that matter, Ayesha?
Yes, Israel, I think was very confident that the ICC, they've been putting a lot of pressure on the ICC itself, as well as on individual staff at both the International Criminal Court and the International Court of Justice. And the pressure has come not only from Israel, but also from some of its major allies. For example, the US has actually designated chief prosecutor of the ICC, Karim Khan, as an anti-Semite and has his authority to travel to the United States and frozen some of his assets there, etc., etc. So they've been really trying very hard to pressure the court, as I said, as well as its staff members in various ways. But luckily, the court hasn't bowed to this. As you said, I never thought I'd see this day either, and it's wonderful that the court is standing firm and refusing to rescind those arrest warrants. And we are now hoping, indeed, that given that the court has affirmed that they won't withdraw those arrest warrants, that when either Mr. Netanyahu or Mr. Gallant dares to travel to any country outside their special allies, that the citizens of that country will make an arrest, because many countries have, constitutions and laws whereby citizens can make arrests in matters of the state of this sort, let alone states making the arrest. So under U.S. tort law, for example, a citizen could make, or a group of citizens could make somebody wanted for crimes of this grievous nature, crimes under genocide and crimes against humanity, ethnic cleansing, etc. And also, because another example where it was attempted a few years ago with the Sudanese president Omar al-Bashir, fortunately in that particular case, because he left the country very stealthily, I'm sad to say, because he was aided and abetted by African government sectors, but that is a story for another day and a different case, although there are some similarities.
So,
So,
Aisha, let me come in here. Do you not think a
sure.
similar situation will play out with these two villains, that of course is Netanyahu and Gallant, should they want to visit countries and have some sort of collusion with those governments, even though they won't be, they're not, wouldn't be allowed in the country, but those governments will then get them in through the back door?
Well, yes, that's always a possibility. But of course, as I said, if citizens get wind of it, and if the
Mm,
judiciary in that country and the criminal justice system in that country is independent enough of the country's executive branch of government, then hopefully it still can happen. And even if it doesn't happen, they will be afraid, Julie, to travel anywhere, one
mm,
hopes. And that will limit their movements considerably. It's also, it's very, very encouraging to know that in its decision, the court took into account the fact that genocide scholars around the world, that the UN Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territories, who just delivered the Nelson Mandela lecture here on Saturday, and as I said, genocide scholars around the world, as well as the association, the International Association of Genocide Scholars, all agree that what is happening in Gaza is a genocide, and what is happening in the West Bank is, at the very least, ethnic cleansing. So there's unanimity about that in various quarters, including amongst Jewish and Israeli genocide scholars. Nearly all genocide experts now agree on this.
So, how do you suppose this matter will go forward in the ICC? Is it enough that they have denied Israel's appeal seeking to cancel the arrest warrants for these two? What about Abdul Razak Ismailov has just also posted something on Facebook, and he says that, and I agree with him totally, Ben Gvir, Smotrich, Katz, and Herzog should also be served with these arrest warrants. Your thoughts? And is
I
it enough? What
absolutely
needs
agree
to
with
happen?
that.
Sorry, Aisha. And what needs to happen next?
Okay, so I do agree with that. However, to bring a new case or an additional to bring additional people to the ICC on a similar basis to which Netanyahu and Gallant at this stage are indicted will be a lengthy process. It's not impossible. But given that this particular case is going to be time consuming and lengthy, that it was literally years in the making, happen overnight. But certainly, if there is sufficient activism around the issue, sufficient evidence continually presented in public, to the public, as well as to the ICC, then it may very well be a successful attempt.
Inshallah. Let me move on. You alluded to Francesca Albanese. Let's go to, and I smell a rat here, but let's
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
over to you. Statement by the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development on the irregular service of process on the UN
Yes.
Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territories. Now, of course, the Minister of Justice, Mamaloko Kubai, notes
Uh-huh.
with regret the unauthorized letter issued by an official in the
So,
Department of
at the
Justice
DOJ.
and Constitutional Development that led to a sheriff approaching Francesca Albanese on obviously this matter to serve her with
Yes.
court papers yesterday. Your thoughts?
Not yesterday, on Saturday,
Oh,
just
pardon. Yes,
immediately after the lecture. Yes.
yes,
Um,
absolutely,
so yes,
absolutely.
that did happen, and I actually was one of the first people to hear about it and immediately put it up because it was confirmed by the chairperson of the Human Rights Commission. So I knew that it would not have been confirmed that the attempt was made to serve these papers by the chairperson had it been, just rumor. So I put it out on all the news media, contacted as many people as we could, and started agitating for, protests perhaps at the U.S. embassy that evening or the next day. And we were in the process of strategizing that when the DOJ's letter came out. So it was a rapid response, I think, largely in response to the pushback that was happening already within South Africa and internationally. And I'm very glad that civil society, social media, etc., really got on that bandwagon and started, pushing the hands off Francesca Albanese campaign that was spearheaded by the South Africa Palestine movement and others. So it's really an example of how civic action en masse can really change what might have been a delayed or a vague response from the DOJ. And I welcome that the DOJ did apologize, that they did so quickly, that they apologized not only to Ms. Albanese, but also to the UN and the Nelson Mandela Foundation. The NMF's press release reflects this as well. But yes, there is definitely, I too smell a rat, and I did so from the very beginning. This is a U.S. group, a Zionist Christian group, Christians for Israel. Obviously, they have some allies in this country. They probably have a fair amount of money and incentive behind them. And I don't need to mention to you, I'm sure, who I suspect behind this. We can. I think we all have the news to figure that out.
Absolutely.
The Zionist Christians have long been a tool manipulated by the Zionist state and its allies for implementing their agenda for what they call a greater Israel. And obviously, whoever South African Christian Zionists have also been co-opted into this. And I'm sure whoever that official who issued the letter is in the DOJ, we should now start pressurizing the DOJ to complete its investigation into that timelessly and to make the findings its findings public, because we have a right to know why our own Justice Department was compromised in this way. It's egg on the face for our government and particularly for our Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. We welcome that they responded so quickly, but they need to let us know what the outcome of the investigation is, who was the individual implicated, and what incentive that individual was given to take this action irregularly, certainly, but I would say probably unlawfully, because U.S. law does not have any weight really in South Africa, except, as I said earlier, on things that are international jurisdiction. And a defamation case in an individual capacity does not fall into that category. So it was an illegal action, unconstitutional action as far as I'm concerned. For the sovereignty of South Africa as a nation state to even attempt this. And we have a right as citizens of this country, as concerned citizens of this country, to know who that individual was and who was behind his or her action and what, motivated that person. Was there a financial or political or indeed even religious affiliation interest? What was that person promised in return?
Absolutely. Sadly, in cases like this, it will be some small fry who will take the fall. And I have no doubt in my mind some of the big boys will be protected. But be that as it may, we hope and pray that this will be a very transparent investigation and that we do get to the bottom of it. I'm going to make a couple of comments, Ayesha, and then hand over back to you. Isn't it ironical that this amazing giant of a woman visits our country and making these amazing pleas on behalf of the Palestinian people? She herself, I presume, is Christian. And you get Zionist Christians that, bring this action against her, number one. The Zionist Christians seem to forget that the Palestinian struggle is not a Muslim struggle. It is a struggle of
Absolutely.
Palestinian Christians as well. Very many beautiful historical churches were destroyed by apartheid Israelis. So the
Indeed.
Christians have a very, very short memory. And I keep putting out the plea, where are the Christians of the world that they don't speak out? I can't generalize, but we do know that the majority of them are silent on the issue of Palestine, because that too is the land of, that too is where Christianity was born. So you kind of
Absolutely.
ask these questions and we're not getting answers. And finally, uh, um, Francesca Albanese was targeted here. As a matter of fact, Aisha, I think they did us a favor, because if anything, they gave this woman, this amazing UN rapporteur, they gave her and the Palestinian cause that much more exposure by this action of theirs. So let's not view it negatively. And finally, I'm going to make this comment. How come a warrant of arrest is, and of course it's by I guess, foreign sources in collusion with local sources, that we get this a warrant of arrest for her, but the very many South African IDF soldiers that have served in apartheid Israel, that have killed many men, women, and particularly children, are back in our country enjoying the high life, and absolutely nothing has been done. No action has been taken against them. Ayesha Kajee.
Indeed, Julie. I think we're of the same sentiment on this. Firstly, I'd like to say that I was in the audience on Saturday, and to have two of my heroes sharing the same platform was absolutely phenomenal. As you know, I used to do the media for the SABC for many of the early Mandela lectures. And to date, my favorite lecture has been the Ariel Dorfman lecture, being as it was a literature, based on a literary persona. And I have to say that was superseded on Saturday, because it was almost dreamlike to have both Dr. Pandor and Francesca Albanese sharing the podium. And it's my understanding from sources who were at the incident, I don't know, this is hearsay, but it's my understanding that Dr. Pandor, when the lackey of the sheriff's department tried to serve the order on Ms. Albanese, Dr. Pandor literally told him in no uncertain terms, I'm paraphrasing here, but literally told him to bugger off, that he had no jurisdiction. Essentially,
Right.
I would have loved to be a fly on the wall there. The lecture was so inspiring, so articulate, so empathetic and humane, that it literally brought me and others in the audience to tears. And the feeling of solidarity, of Ubuntu, of Sumud, Ms. Albanese equated Sumud and Ubuntu to a large extent. And that feeling of really, striving together as a collective for the better of the collective was so present there on Saturday that it was quite incredible. So yes, it is ironic that so many Christian Zionists, and perhaps even Christians who don't identify as Zionists, are silent and therefore silently complicit in the genocide happening in Gaza and the ethnic cleansing happening in the West Bank. Indeed, I would say in the Holocaust happening in Gaza. And so it is ironic. I've been in Palestine myself. I spoke to you from there 2 years ago, before the 7th of October, during Ramadan 2023. And I have to say that it was one of those peculiar times, Julie, when the Easter, Passover, and the last few days of Ramadan dovetailed. And of course, this city of Al-Quds, of Jerusalem, is a holy city for all three monotheistic faiths. And so one day, walking through the old city, not in the so-called Muslim sector, I witnessed, together with two friends, one from Tunisia and another one from Britain, I witnessed some local ultra-Orthodox Jews spitting at a Christian person who was wearing a cross, spitting on that person.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying this from hearsay. I wish I could have videoed it, but it was one of those things that happens in the blink of an eye.
Right.
And I literally witnessed someone being spat upon. And for me, it was so emblematic and echoed the kind of treatment Black people were meted out in South Africa under apartheid. Literally,
Absolutely.
this person was spat upon. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that is the respect or disrespect with which many Jewish Israelis view Christians. They call them goyim, other,
That's right.
they're Gentile, less than. To them, everybody other than a Jew is less than.
Mm-hmm.
So those hardline Zionist, Israelis. And to witness another human being spat upon was utterly shocking, I have to tell you. And I really wish I'd been able to video it, but there are videos available of similar instances.
I'm
of
sure.
Priests being spat upon, priests being disrespected in the Armenian and Christian quarters. And I really wish that those many, many Christian Zionists around the world, including in South Africa, many of whom get funding from Israel and the United States, people like the granddaughters of Nelson Mandela, who went on an all-expensive paid trip to Israel, so-called Israel, would actually realize the level of disrespect the state and its citizens has for Christians, because then perhaps they would stop their support, whether that support is overt or silent. They would hopefully stop their support for this genocidal.
I just want to say one thing in closing. I was at one of the closed sessions with Francesca, and Mandela's grandson was there as well. And without even, being questioned about the visit by, I would assume it's his cousins, because they are granddaughters of Nelson Mandela, but it's not his sisters. They are his cousins. No one actually alluded to it, but he had, obviously the floor was open, and he started talking about the Mandela family name, the Mandela family, the Mandela Foundation, and all such institutions have been infiltrated. And I'm more than certain was alluding to the cousins having gone on a paid trip to Israel and then having come back and saying they see no, shocking statement that they see no segregation in Israel. And you can, just from him having said the infiltration, just using that word, that our family home, our family foundation, etc., has been infiltrated, spoke volumes. So I just wanted to add that.
Absolutely. And I think he was also alluding, Julie, to the fact that when Francesca Albanese was, identified by the Mandela Foundation as the Nelson Mandela lecture, as the person who delivered the Nelson Mandela lecture this year, much of the normal funding for that lecture was withdrawn, which shows you how deep that influence and infiltration runs. And, kudos to those people and those organizations who came to the party and made up that funding gap. The chief executive of the Mandela Foundation actually alluded to these in his thank you, note of thanks, vote of thanks. He spoke about Gift of the Givers, Salam Media, and others, including, private Muslim individuals, business people. So kudos to them, mashallah to them, congratulations to them for not being intimidated and for bringing the funding that would normally possibly have come from either Zionist or pro-Zionist elements in our business community.
Okay, Ayesha, I'm so sorry. My producer's going to cut me off if I don't wrap up now. You and I need to set up another time to take these conversations even further Always a pleasure talking to
Inshallah.
you, my dear sister. Till the next time, as always, go well, and salamu alaikum to you.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair for having me on.
That was the amazing Ayesha Kajee. She is always a pleasure talking to her. She is, as I've indicated, a writer, an analyst, and also an activist. It is exactly 9:44 a.m.
Rejuvenating Media Day.